Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin today with a simple observation. There comes a moment in every life when you pause long enough to wonder, is this really all there is? Not out of despair, no, out of realization. Realization that life, as we're living it, may not yet be the life we're capable of building. And I want to tell you, that moment when it arrives is precious. It's a signal. It's the beginning of a turning point. See, all of us want something better, better health, better finances, better relationships, better peace of mind. And most people, good people, hardworking people, spend years searching for that one dramatic change, that one lightning bolt that will rewrite their entire story. But here's what I discovered after many years of studying success. It's not the dramatic things that change your life. It's the simple things, the small disciplines, the tiny choices, the little habits you repeat every single day. I used to think success was complicated. I thought the people who lived extraordinary lives had access to some secret code, some hidden library of wisdom the rest of us never saw. But the truth is far more encouraging. Success is simple. Not always easy, but simple. And it begins where every great transformation begins, with one change, one habit, one new pattern that starts in the quiet moment when you say, I'm ready for something different. So today, I want to give you a concept so simple, you might be tempted to overlook it, and yet so powerful, it can alter the entire course of your life. A habit not dramatic enough to impress anyone at first glance, but strong enough to improve everything about your future if you give it a chance. And here's the good news. You don't need to move to another city, change your name, or start life all over again. You simply need to do something small every day that compounds into something remarkable. You see, life doesn't respond to hopes. Life responds to structure. Life responds to discipline. Life responds to the pattern you repeat, not the wish you whisper. And if you're willing to build this single daily habit and stay with me as we explore it, you may find that the next chapter of your life looks entirely different from the one before it. So let's begin. A new direction starts today. A new chapter. A new possibility. And it all starts with understanding the law of small daily disciplines. Now, let's talk about one of the greatest principles I ever learned, the law of small daily disciplines. And I want you to write this one down if you're taking notes. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure is nothing more than a few small errors in judgment repeated every day. That's it. That's the entire difference between a life you're proud of and a life you wish you had lived differently. Most people believe their future will be shaped by one big moment, a breakthrough, a miracle, a sudden stroke of luck. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not how life works. Life doesn't usually turn on the big decisions, it turns on the tiny ones. The decision's so small, you could blink and miss them. And often you do. Eating an apple a day is easy. Skipping an apple a day is also easy. Reading a few pages of a good book is easy. Ignoring a book for a month is also easy. Waking up 10 minutes earlier is easy. Hitting the snooze button is also easy. And here's the trick. Those easy decisions don't seem to matter in the moment. You don't gain 50 pounds tonight. You don't lose your career tomorrow. You don't break your relationships in one afternoon. And because there's no immediate punishment, no instant reward, we learn to underestimate the power of the simple things. But life works like this. What is easy to do is also easy not to do. And that's where destiny separates. That's where two people, same background, same town, same opportunity, end up in completely different places 10 years later. Not because one had better luck, or better genes, or better chances, but because one practiced a few simple disciplines each day, and the other neglected them. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a tree growing in the backyard. You don't hear it grow. You don't wake up one morning to the sound of branches stretching or leaves pushing out into the sunlight. Growth is quiet. Discipline is quiet. Change is quiet. But give that tree a year, 2 years, 5 years, and suddenly you say, my goodness, look at that thing. What was once small and fragile becomes strong enough to weather storms. The same is true for your life. A disciplined day may look ordinary, unremarkable, almost invisible. But stack enough of them together, and you've built something extraordinary. Health, wealth, character, wisdom, opportunity, all grown in the soil of daily discipline. That's why this habit we're building, this one simple daily practice, matters more than you might realize. It's not the size of the discipline that matters. It's the consistency. It's the commitment. It's the decision to guide your day instead of drifting through it. And once you understand that, the whole world opens up to you. Because if small disciplines can create success, then small errors in judgment, neglecting what seems unimportant, can create disaster. You don't want to discover, years from now, that the little things you ignored became the big things you regret. So let's understand this law deeply. Master the day, and you master the direction of your life. Fix the day, and you fix the year. Fix the year, and you fix the decade. Fix the decade, and you fix the destiny. And that brings us to an important question. If success is so simple, why don't more people change? So let's address the big question. If the small disciplines are so simple, so accessible, so within reach for every single one of us, then why don't more people change? Why do so many good, intelligent, capable men and women wake up year after year to the same frustrations, the same habits, the same results? Well, let me tell you what I've learned after many years of observing people and observing myself. Most people don't fail because they're not smart. They don't fail because they're not talented. They don't fail because they don't want a better life. Oh, people want a better life. They dream of it. They talk about it. They hope for it. But here's the problem. They wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. They wait for a sign. They wait for someone to come along and push them. And while they wait, life moves on. You see, waiting is the great killer of potential. Waiting convinces you that someday will finally arrive, but someday isn't a day on the calendar. It's a myth. A myth used by the busy, the distracted, and the overwhelmed to postpone the changes that would give them the life they want. Most people never change because they live their lives in reaction instead of intention. They respond to the day instead of directing it. They start the morning in chaos, rushing through the routine, checking their phone, filling every quiet moment with noise, and then wonder why the day feels like it's slipping through their fingers. They say things like, one day I'll start reading. One day I'll work on my health. One day I'll build that skill. But one day has a habit of turning into 7 years. And here's another truth. People underestimate how fast life passes. They think they have an unlimited supply of weeks, months, and seasons to get it right. But the clock doesn't wait for any of us. The time to begin is not next month, not next year, not after you feel inspired. The time to begin is when the idea first visits your mind. Now, let me give you something important. Most people repeat the same year of life 10 times and call it growth. But it's not growth. It's repetition. It's familiarity. It's habit. And habit, if not questioned, becomes destiny. But here's the good news, and it's very good news. Changing your life doesn't require you to overhaul everything. It doesn't require you to become a different person overnight. It requires only this, a decision to stop drifting, a decision to stop waiting, a decision to take ownership of today. Because, my friends, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan, and you know what they have planned for you? Not much. Not because they're bad people, but because they're busy planning their own life. So we must wake up to this reality. Drifting is easy, waiting is natural, but directing your life intentionally, deliberately, daily, that is uncommon. And that's why so few people change, and why those who do stand out so dramatically. But once you understand that you're the captain of this ship, the designer of this blueprint, the author of this story, everything begins to shift. And now that we know why most people stay the same, we can finally reveal the habit that will begin to change everything. Now, let's reveal the habit, the one daily practice that can change the entire direction of your life. And I want you to listen closely here, because it's not dramatic. It won't impress your neighbors. It won't go viral on social media. But if you do it consistently, it will create more transformation than anything else you've ever tried. The habit is this: a daily habit of reviewing your life and directing your next 24 hours. That's it, 15 minutes. A small ritual at the end of the day or at the beginning where you pause long enough to ask yourself, how did I live today? What did I learn? And what will I do tomorrow on purpose? You say, Jim, that sounds too simple. Yes, that's exactly why it works. Most people never stop long enough to review. They live their lives like a man driving through fog, rushing forward, hoping it all works out, never checking the map, never adjusting the compass. But you, starting today, are going to do it differently. Here's how the ritual works. First, you review. Ask yourself, what did I do today? Not to criticize yourself, no, but to become aware. Did you spend your time wisely? Did you use your talents? Did you avoid the things you know you need to face? Did you take steps towards your goals? Or did you drift from task to task without intention? Awareness is the first step to change. If you don't know how you lived your day, how can you possibly direct your life? Second, you reflect. Ask, what did I learn today? Every day teaches you something if you're listening. Something about people, something about yourself, something about discipline, something about opportunity. Some days teach you what to do, other days teach you what not to do. But both kinds of days are valuable. Third, you redirect. Ask, what will I do tomorrow that moves me just one step forward? Not 10 steps, not a revolution, just one small, intentional, deliberate step. And you write it down. That's important. Don't trust your memory with your future. Put it on paper where you can revisit it. Because when you write something down, you're not just listing an action, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Now, why does this ritual matter so much? Because if your day drifts, your life drifts. But if your day is directed, your life becomes directed. Life doesn't change when you try to fix the whole thing at once. Life changes when you fix a single day and then repeat that day again and again until the results begin to show. One good day becomes a good week. A good week becomes a good month. A good month becomes a good year. And a good year can rebuild a life. Imagine what would happen if every evening you ended the day with clarity and every morning you began with direction. You'd stop living in reaction and start living with purpose. You'd stop waiting and start building. You'd stop drifting and start choosing. And that, my friends, is the beginning of transformation. This habit, simple as it is, becomes the anchor of discipline, the architect of growth, the quiet engine of your future success. But perhaps you're wondering, why does this little ritual hold such enormous power? That brings us to the next part, why this habit works, and why it works so quietly yet so profoundly. Now, some of you might be thinking, Jim, can 15 minutes of reflection and direction really change my life? And I understand the skepticism because the habit is so small, so quiet, so unremarkable on the surface. But let me share something fundamental about human nature. Life amplifies what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. This daily habit works because it does something for you that most people never experience. It creates invisible momentum. And let me explain what I mean by that. Most people live their lives in a fog of repetition. They wake up, they rush, they work, they react, they collapse, and then they start again tomorrow. And because nothing is examined, nothing changes. And because nothing changes, nothing grows. And because nothing grows, nothing improves. But the moment you begin reviewing your day, truly reviewing it, you become aware. And awareness is the beginning of choice. And choice is the beginning of change. And change, my friends, is the beginning of a new life. Let's use a simple metaphor. Imagine a pilot flying from Los Angeles to Tokyo. Now, if that pilot adjusts the plane's nose by just 1 degree, just one tiny shift, you won't even notice it for the first few minutes. But stay on that trajectory long enough, and instead of landing in Tokyo, you end up in a completely different country. That's the power of small adjustments repeated daily. Your life works the same way. Change your direction by one small discipline done with intention and stay with it long enough, and you end up in a completely different destiny. This habit also works because it interrupts the drift. And drifting is dangerous. The wind doesn't blow you toward your goals, it blows you away from them. The currents of life don't naturally pull you toward discipline, growth, and purpose. They pull you toward comfort, distraction, and neglect. That's why most people end up someplace they don't like and then say, I don't know how I got here. Oh, but you will know, because with this habit, you become the navigator, not the passenger. You steer the ship. You turn the wheel. You set the course. And once you begin steering even a little, the winds of life start working with you, not against you. Another reason this habit works is because it rewires your identity. Every time you review your day and set an intention for tomorrow, you reinforce a powerful belief. I am someone who pays attention. I am someone who chooses where my life goes. That belief is worth gold, because once your identity shifts even slightly, your behavior follows. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this habit is this: its effects show up quietly. No fireworks, no dramatic applause, no sudden transformations, just small changes building on top of small changes until one day someone looks at you and says, you've changed, and you realize they're right, though you can't pinpoint the exact moment it happened. Growth rarely announces itself. Momentum rarely makes noise. Discipline rarely feels heroic. But over time, these invisible forces build a life others will call remarkable. Now that you understand the power behind this ritual, the next question is obvious. How do you do it correctly? And that brings us to the next part, a practical framework for turning this daily habit into a permanent part of your life. Now that we understand the power behind this simple daily ritual, let me show you exactly how to do it. Because if the habit isn't practical, if it's not simple, if it's not doable, you won't stay with it. And the key to transformation is not effort, it's consistency. So let's make this habit easy. Easy to start, easy to return to, and easy to repeat. Step number 1, create a quiet space. You need a place where your mind can settle, a place where you can hear yourself think. Most people have never created a quiet place in their life. Their environment is noisy, their schedule is noisy, their mind is noisy, and then they wonder why clarity never arrives. Find a corner of your room, a spot at your desk, a chair by the window. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be yours. A place where you step out of the rush of life and into reflection. Step number 2, ask yourself 5 simple questions. Now, these questions are not complicated, but they are powerful. Question 1, what did I accomplish today? Don't skip this. Your mind needs to see progress to stay motivated. Even the smallest win counts. If you read 2 pages, write it down. If you took a walk instead of scrolling, write it down. If you kept a promise to yourself, write it down. Question 2, what did I avoid today that I shouldn't have? Now, this one takes honesty. Sometimes the things we avoid are the things that matter most. And if you avoid something today, you're likely to avoid it tomorrow unless you become aware of it tonight. Question 3, what did I learn today? Every day teaches. The question is, did you collect the lesson? Some days teach wisdom. Some days teach patience. Some days teach discipline. Some days teach what not to do. But every day teaches something if you're listening. Question 4, what slowed me down? This is how you catch patterns. Was it distraction? Was it worry? Was it procrastination? Was it lack of preparation? When you can name the obstacle, you can tame the obstacle. Question 5, what one thing will I do tomorrow to move forward? Just one thing. Not 5, not 10, not a whole reinvention. Just one simple action that nudges your life in the right direction. Because consistent nudges create irreversible progress. Step number 3, write it down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't make the mistake of keeping your future in your head. The mind forgets, the page remembers. And I used to tell my audience everywhere I went, a life worth living is a life worth recording. When you write down your reflections and your intentions, you're not just keeping notes, you're building a blueprint. Step number 4, choose one small winnable task for tomorrow. Make it simple enough that you can't talk yourself out of it. Success loves simplicity. If you try to build a mountain tomorrow, you will fail. But if you move one stone consistently, you'll be amazed at how the mountain changes shape. Step number 5, close your ritual with gratitude. Find 3 things: a moment, a person, a lesson, a simple gift you appreciated today. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you see better. It lifts your eyes from what is missing to what is possible. It reminds you that life, despite its challenges, offers abundant evidence of goodness. And that's the ritual. 15 minutes, 5 questions, 1 task, 3 gratitudes. Done daily, it becomes the steering wheel of your life. Done consistently, it becomes the architect of your character. Done faithfully, it becomes the foundation of your future. Now that we've learned how to practice the ritual, the real question is, what will you start to notice once you've done this for a few weeks? Because the results don't show up instantly, but when they arrive beautifully. Now let's talk about what happens when you practice this ritual not for a day, not for a week, but steadily, faithfully, long enough for its roots to take hold. Because transformation is not an event, it's a process. And processes reveal themselves gradually, almost imperceptibly, until one day the results are too obvious to ignore. Here's what you can expect. In the first week, you will gain clarity. Clarity about how you spend your time. Clarity about what truly matters. Clarity about where your energy is going and where it's leaking. Most people have no idea how much of their life slips away unnoticed. But once you begin reviewing your day, you start seeing your life again. You begin to look at your hours the way an investor looks at capital, with intention. In the second week, you will feel energy, not the wild, temporary energy that comes from motivation, but the calm, steady energy that comes from living with direction. There's nothing more draining than drifting, nothing more exhausting than indecision, nothing more tiring than moving through life without a compass. But once you start your mornings with intention, your days begin to carry a different rhythm. You feel lighter, clearer, more awake to your own potential. By week 3, you will notice direction. Your life stops feeling like a collection of random events and starts feeling like a journey, one you're actively steering. Your relationships begin to shift. Your priorities become sharper. Your distractions lose their grip. And you begin to feel that rare sense of alignment where your actions finally match your values. By week 4, momentum arrives. And momentum, my friends, is one of the most powerful forces in human life. It's when progress begins to multiply, when small wins create bigger wins, when self-respect grows because every day you kept a promise to yourself, when the person you're becoming begins to feel natural and the person you used to be begins to feel distant. And here's the beautiful part. People around you will notice before you do. Someone will say, something's different about you. You seem more focused. You seem calmer. You seem clearer. You seem intentional. And they'll be right. Because you won't just be living, you'll be leading your life. Now, let me give you a glimpse into the long-term results. When you practice this habit for months, you'll find your decision-making improves. Why? Because you've trained your mind to think, to evaluate, to learn from the day before. Your relationships improve. You begin to communicate with more patience, more presence, more awareness. Your finances improve. You become more conscious of how you spend, how you earn, how you plan. Your opportunities increase. A directed life attracts directed opportunities. Success likes people who are moving. Your sense of meaning deepens. Because you're no longer living by accident, you're living by design. And all this from 15 minutes a day. You see, the world is built by people who show up to their own life daily, deliberately, consistently. And that becomes possible when you practice a habit like this. But of course, even simple habits come with challenges. And if you're not aware of the pitfalls, you may fall right into them. So let's talk about what to avoid, because the wrong approach can slow your progress, and the right awareness can protect it. Now, before we move to the close, I want to offer a few warnings, because even the simplest discipline can be derailed by a few common mistakes. And if you're aware of them, you can avoid them. Awareness, once again, is the beginning of mastery. Mistake number 1, thinking one day doesn't matter. You say, Jim, I'll skip today. I'll get back on track tomorrow. Oh, but that's dangerous thinking. One day of discipline won't change all your life, but one day of neglect can start the slide. The slightest slip can become a pattern, and a pattern becomes a habit, and a habit becomes a destiny. Don't underestimate the power of one day. If you miss one, fine. Life happens. But don't miss two. Two is the beginning of decline. Mistake number 2, making the ritual too complicated. Some people try to turn the habit into a ceremony, candles lit, tea brewed, 6 journals, 10 steps, 12 questions, a special playlist. Now, that all sounds impressive, but it's a trap. The more complicated a habit becomes, the harder it is to repeat. And remember, the goal isn't drama, it's consistency. Keep it simple so you can keep it forever. Mistake number 3, stopping when life gets better. This is one of the biggest pitfalls of success. When people start seeing results, they often relax. They say, I'm doing great, I don't need the ritual tonight. But success has an interesting personality. It rewards discipline, but it punishes neglect. When the harvest starts coming in, that is the moment to plant even more, not less. Don't let early victories lull you into complacency. Mistake number 4, waiting until you feel like doing it. If you only act when the mood is right, your life will always be dictated by emotion, not direction. Discipline means doing what you should do, even when you don't feel like it. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline is a house guest. It stays. Let discipline run the show, not your feelings. Mistake number 5, using the ritual to judge yourself instead of guide yourself. This habit is not self-punishment. It is not a nightly evaluation of everything wrong with your day. No, it is a tool for awareness, not shame, for direction, not guilt, for growth, not self-criticism. Be honest with yourself, but be kind too. You are building, not tearing down. Mistake number 6, expecting instant transformation. Remember, the tree doesn't grow in a day. The bank account doesn't fill in a week. The muscles don't strengthen overnight. Growth is slow until it isn't. And when the results appear, they appear suddenly and beautifully. Trust the process. Honor the time. Keep showing up. Now that we've covered what to avoid, you are ready to begin this daily ritual without stumbling into the common traps that stop most people. And once you avoid these pitfalls, the habit becomes powerful, sustainable, and life-shaping. Which brings us to our final section, the invitation to step into the next chapter of your life. And now, my friends, we arrive at the final moment of our conversation, the invitation. Not to a program, not to a challenge, not to some grand, overwhelming reinvention, but to a new way of living, one day at a time. I hope by now you understand something profound. Your life does not change in a year. Your life changes in a day, and that day changes when you change your awareness, your choices, your direction. That's where everything truly begins. You see, people try to fix the decade. They try to fix their whole personality. They try to fix their entire circumstances. But life doesn't respond to big wishes. It responds to small, consistent action. And the daily habit we've been talking about, that simple ritual of reviewing, reflecting, redirecting, recording, and appreciating, that is the key that unlocks the door. When you practice this habit, you are telling life something powerful. I'm awake now. I'm paying attention. I'm not drifting anymore. I'm steering. And when you start steering, life begins shifting. Opportunities that used to pass you by suddenly seem to slow down as they move toward you. People who never took you seriously begin to notice your confidence. Ideas that once felt scattered start falling into place. And you quietly, steadily become someone different, someone clearer, someone more disciplined, someone more intentional, someone more alive. Let me leave you with this thought. You do not need a new life. You need a new direction. And direction comes from daily decisions. Not next month. Not next year. Not when you feel ready, but tonight when the day ends. And tomorrow before the day begins. Give me 15 minutes of your day, and I promise you this, the next 15 years will look different. more purposeful, more aligned, more meaningful, more yours. Because the future is not shaped by chance, it's shaped by choice. And today, you have a choice to drift or to direct, to repeat the old story, or to begin a new one, to live by default or to live by design. My friends, choose design, choose intention, choose awareness, choose discipline, and choose, starting today, the simple daily habit that will change your life forever. This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is the beginning of a new chapter, quiet, steady, powerful, the kind of beginning that doesn't need applause, because the results will speak loudly enough. Go build the life you were meant to live one day at a time.